Hi, my name is Kyle Sullivan. I am supposedly the director of a short film called Garden of the Gods. It is a clerical error, as I've been telling people. And we have Steve Ashlee, who worked as our gaffer and lighting guru for the short film. I guess, Steve, do you want to take a few moments just to sort of describe your body of experience? I know you've been doing this for quite a little while, and what is your preferred area of production?
I have been doing this quite a while. Since I was a kid. I started out when there were Super 8 film cameras, and they were affordable at the time. Video cameras were huge, like the size of a car. And so I started with Super 8 film, making my own films, and then progressed from there. Did a lot of commercial work and documentaries, a few features. Camera department, lighting, being next to the actors, that's the best, really.
So how did that, was that something that you were interested in, specifically those departments, when you got started, or was that something you bumped into and just thought, yeah, that's the best, or?
You start out doing everything when you're an independent filmmaker and you're young, and yeah, just because the more of the action is taking place around the camera and the camera department and the actors, they sort of gravitated to that. I remember reading, encyclopedia entries on motion picture production, and just being fascinated with the cameras, and development, and all the post-production that goes into it.
Yeah. So if you had to get stuck in one department the rest of your life, it wouldn't be art.
No, although that's a very important department. That's really important to the camera department.
Yeah, it's all important to the camera department, except the audio. So, I mean, you're based out of Birmingham, but you've worked all over the planet in various capacities. What's the furthest you've gone for a job?
It's all been locally based, I guess. Going to Belgium to hand them a commercial was the furthest that I've gone, and that was just that was just basically go and hand them a film that they could play in cinemas and come back, which is an unusual assignment. And then we filmed all over the United States and parts of Canada, Bahamas.
You didn't even get to, did you get to like stay in Belgium for a day or something?
No, it was just to deliver this print to forego Belgian customs or unions or something like that in the 80s.
Wild.
Yeah.
Well, I hear they have good waffles.
Yeah, they did, even in the airport.
Okay, so let's talk about some Garden of the Gods stuff. You're the gaffer. What does that mean exactly?
Gaffer's the head electrician, so he's doing the commands of the director of photography in terms of the look and hiding of the equipment and cabling and things like that to make the picture. Director of photography might say, "Oh, I want it to be, bright blue coming from the left side and then some gold glow," that sort of thing. And the gaffer provides that, selects the instruments and runs the cable and things like that.
I mean, you said you've worked all over production, but normally you're doing DP work yourself and you've directed. Is gaffer a comfortable space for you as well?
Yes, there's not so much pressure, but you're still involved in the look of the picture, so it's a comfortable place to work. It has a little bit more responsibility than, for example, just being the camera assistant in terms of you have electricity, things like that you're dealing with in terms of voltage. And not knocking anything on camera assistants, they have a lot of problems, but sometimes we deal with high voltage.
Yeah, slates won't try to kill you if you plug them in wrong.
That's right.
So, in your estimation, what day, we shot for 4 days on Garden of the Gods, what was the most complicated?
Rigging for the party was probably the most time consuming. The 2 days that we spent filming the actual walling in, that was a problem just because it was raining and cold and you going up and down hills and that sort of thing. So it's slippery, keeping everything dry, which was impossible. Keeping a consistent fog level.
Going into the party scene, like, was there a particular thing that you were most worried about in regards to all of that?
it's always keeping and that sort of thing, keeping the shadows of the camera and the crew from striking the actors or anything that's on camera at the time. So it's a lot of sort of dancing with lights sometimes, where you're moving them during the shot or dimming them, pointing them at the lens if all else fails. And then the shadows can't fall on the subject.
Speaking of dancing with lights and shadow and such, on the first day of shooting, we did this traffic gag with the red light, green light. And I don't remember if it was your idea or Bill's idea, Bill, the DP, to do this card drop thing between two lights that were already set up. We weren't turning lights on and off. We were just moving like a big, I don't know. Is that a normal thing to do? Was that like an independent film thing to do? If you had $1 million in the budget, what's the right way to handle that?
Well, they would have been wired into a switch if you had, the money and the generator there that was silent and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's a very normal independent film way to do it. You can even dim a light the same way by taking a flag and holding it vertically in front of the light, edge on, so that just the edge is blocking the light, and slowly turning it to block, and it will dim the light down. So that was just from experience, reversing things. We could have also done it with a cut. If we'd only had, say, one light and we had to change the gel, we could have shot it with the red gel on, made a cut, put the green gel on, and picked up again. And right there where the color changes, you wouldn't have noticed the edge as long as the camera wasn't bumped.
I thought it looked pretty good. In the footage is like just a tiny blank spot between lights, and I know we're gonna cut just a handful of frames out at most to sell the effect. But otherwise, man, it looked like an actual traffic light. We never saw a traffic light, and it's a pretty cool gag,
Yeah, there was a pause. There was a blank pause. That could be an old traffic light, where they used to go dark right in the middle.
Oh yeah. That's right.
From red to green, there'd be like the red would go out, and there'd be a pause, and the green would come in. Probably an old solenoid in the roof.
So we'd have to get some stock footage of like an old traffic light somewhere.
Hey, yeah, there you go.
And do a reverse shot. So talk to me a little bit about the basement. What was the hardest thing about being in there?
Most difficult part of the basement scene was dealing with the environment, with the dust and the wet and the cold, because it had gotten cold at that point. And so there was a lot of keeping cords out of the water and keeping masks on so you weren't breathing dust. Edgar Allan Poe pretty much had it down accurately about how sick you would get being walled in because of the concrete dust and everything alone was awful.
Yeah, that's people, I guess, protected themselves as they needed to. That's something we should have thought about more thoroughly, is to have a box of like those medical grade masks on hand. We shot just before the pandemic, so we should have had no problem getting a hold of some.
Yeah, we could have had the surplus.
So like putting lights up there, running cabling around, shooting back and forth. I know that we had this really interesting lighting scheme going on. I don't know. Is that something that... Well, how do I phrase this question? Was there anything new happening for you in that space with your job that surprised you or that you didn't expect about working with cinder block, about trying to light that space, trying to rig that space?
The new aspects of being able to use, they're not that new now, the new aspects of being able to use, LED tubes that are wireless, so you can set the color, and they're battery operated, so they're easier to hide. That they're not that new now, but that is something new in terms of being able to hide the lights. It's always a question of where you have room to hide a light to do what you want, either an edge on the person or some soft fill, and then try to make it look like it's either the practicals lighting it or light coming from the outside. Again, to keep the shadows off the players.
Well, it looked magnificent. I don't know how many screenshots you've seen, but we're very close to getting the first rough cut, and some of the footage is just crazy. It looks like a total art house piece. Like we've taken a lot of care to do the lighting and all the different pieces and stuff. I mean, it's an updated Edgar Allan Poe story. How familiar are you with Edgar Allan Poe at all? It's like something you bumped into in high school? Is this something that you read on your own? Were you familiar with this story before shooting it?
Yeah, I've been familiar with Edgar Allan Poe since I was a kid. Edgar Allan Poe seems to be sort of embraced by everyone when they're small. Maybe in grade school, you read The Raven and that sort of thing when you're in school. And it seems like everyone sort of adopts Edgar Allan Poe. You know, they relate to him, and especially Americans. I mean, you know, he's definitely been adopted as, you know, like the preeminent, you know, tragic American artist who didn't get the lot in life that he deserved and yet was so brilliant. So yeah, I was very familiar with Poe. I've seen the story depicted in other ways, like Roger Corman movies. And I think it's probably the story that everyone really knows. The, you know, walling the person up inside the casket. Yeah.
You describe Poe as a guy who didn't get the recognition he deserved while he was alive. He's sort of like a patron saint of filmmaking.
That's true. Yeah.
We're toiling away and no one knows it, man.
What do you die to? What do you got to do to get your picture up on your wall? Yeah, you got to die.
Oh, sad. Well, I'm not sure what else we could talk about in regard to this. Do you have any other comments about the film or about the experience or the crew or the extras, or what else strikes you about the project?
Having a good assistant director is very important, and Randy Halper did an amazing job keeping it all moving and keeping everyone happy. That's so important. And the scheduling is the hardest thing to do in an independent film. You know, everyone works and has different times where they're available, so that's difficult. You did a great job. So hats off to Randy.
Yeah, Randy.
That was the only part I thought about.
Okay, all right. Well, sir, thank you very much for taking the time to do this, and we'll recycle this back into a big video with everyone talking, so that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And yeah,
we're gonna have that rap party in premiere.
Yeah, as soon as we're all vaccinated, maybe.
Yeah.